What you saying, Toobs? A ship has sunk? Where? Fowey? And it capsized? Well, ahoy, salty sea dogs and land lubbers alike. It be Captain Kelly here with Toobs from the good ship Stray. Well, today's video is about the beautiful and historic sights to be found around Fowey. But before that, let me show you some of the facilities found here at Penmarlin Boat Park, where we were stuck for 2 weeks because of the weather. So just off the extensive pontoons and the excellent slipway is this wonderful cafe, which is only open, sadly, during summer, so I didn't get to see it. And there's their very well stocked chandlery, very helpful people behind there. They can get you anything within 24 hours, I found anyway. That was during winter. The facilities that I got to see, unfortunately, was a bit limited. This is the only door that was open, and it didn't have a shower. Just a baby changing place and a toilet and a sink with just cold water. Although it was the middle of winter, I would have liked a shower at least. So we're going to start our walk up at Bodinnick at the top of your map there, and then we're going to go across the ferry and all the way through Fowey down to Bentennial Cove. Bit of a mouthful, but there you go. A little walk across the fields from the boatyard, you come to a small village called Bodinnick, which is opposite Fowey on the other side of the river. The name Bodinnick comes from the Cornish for fortified dwelling, which is over this stile and down the road. And dominating the small village of Bodinnick is this 17th century inn called the Old Ferry. And it's been running continuously since the 17th century, and is still open to the public nowadays as well. You can use this bar here. It's a very small, cosy bar. Original flag floors, lovely fireplace. That's a little shop I'll show you in a minute. And it's quite cosy and lovely and warm in winter, I can say, and filled with good ales. And here is the still from which they make their own gin and other spirits. And they sell them in this very small but beautiful little shop here. They also have a microbrewery round the back too. And when you go down into the sumptuous lounge, you can see why they can command such a high price for their rooms, with views such as this out across to Fowey, and the degree and quality of the fit out. And to cross the river we need the Bodinnick ferry. Now this has been around for over 600 years, and the earliest mention of it was in 1344 when King Edward III was around, but there's likely to have been one before then. And at that time it would have been just a wooden catamaran propelled with long sweeps, and it carried horses and other animals as well as humans. But by the 17th century it was carrying horses and carts. Only in the 20th century was the ferry really improved, and by the 1920s a diesel engine was added in the form of a boat tied alongside a floating platform. But it wasn't until sort of like the 1990s when Bodinnick and Gellin built this ferry to carry 15 cars and 100 passengers. I've just paid £2.30 to do this 100 yards one way. They don't even do return tickets, so it's going to cost me £2.30 to come back. It's the price of a pint of beer. £1.50 would have been plenty. Quid would have been nice. £2.30. It's been the most expensive little bit of river crossing in the bloody world. Look, that's it. We're at the other end now. That's as far as we've gone for £2.30. It takes me 2.5 hours to earn that down at the docks.
And we'll all hang on behind.
So after escaping those ferry pirates, we are now in the village of Fowey. And Fowey comes from the Cornish Fowey, which means actually beech trees. Now the Domesday Book at the end of the 11th century records manors at Penbenton now and Trinant, and also a priory was soon established nearby at Tywardreth. And as we continue on down this lane, we come to the buildings of the Fowey Harbour Commissioners. And as I've mentioned before, these are a fine body of people all the way up and down this river, and they give exceptional service, and they've been very helpful to me in the 3 weeks I've been around here. Commissioned by an Act of Parliament in 1869, it just goes to show that with a good crew and excellent leadership, it's amazing what you can achieve. So, Fowey held a leading position amongst the Cornish ports from the 14th to 16th century because of its export of tin. The area's tin mines closed by the late 20th century, but the port continued to export kaolin, which is China clay, and that's from St Austell. And just hiding round this corner up here is Rowley's Fudge Pantry. Definitely one of the places worth a visit while you're here. It's got fantastic selection in there, and the staff are very friendly. And a little bit further along the road we come to this wonderful establishment, which has, I think, one of the finest value fish deals there is going. It's the Galleon Inn, and you have to squeeze down this little alleyway, which is beautifully decorated, and a fantastic mural all the way down it, and it's about 50 yards down there. And at the end of this lane there is a sheltered and heated courtyard for smokers and people who like to eat and drink outside in the fresh air. And here we are, dogs welcome. You happy, Tips? Why are you looking at the floor? Oh, it's because I've got this. Now I'm just pausing the video here to tell you about this tasty meal. That is the tastiest whitebait I've ever had. You got a prawny cocktail there, huge slabs of fresh cod, scampi and a dip, and the best ever cooked calamari I've tasted. And the thing is, I had it twice just to prove it, and it cost me 11 quid. Can't do better than that. Fair enough. Well, the natural harbour here at Fowey allowed the trade to develop through Europe, and local ship owners often hired their vessels out to the king to support various wars, although the town also developed a reputation for piracy, but so did many other places around here. A group of privateers known as the Fowey Gallants were given licence to seize enemy vessels during the Hundreds-Year War. In the 14th century, the harbour was defended by 160 archers. After these were withdrawn, 2 blockhouses were built, one on each side of the harbour entrance, and that's where we're going to go today. Despite these defences, the town was attacked by Breton pirates in 1457. A small castle was built at St Catherine's Point, the western side of the harbour entrance, around 1540. And the defences proved their worth when a Dutch attack was beaten off in 1667. Now the fortunes of the harbour became much reduced, with trade going to Plymouth and elsewhere instead, but fishing became much more important. But local merchants were often appointed as privateers and did some smuggling on the side. Perched high above St Catherine's Point is St Catherine's Castle, and this was ideally placed to guard the harbour with its fine views over the mouth of the river and out to sea. This castle you see here today is a D-shaped 2-storey blockhouse, and it was commissioned by Henry VIII between 1538 and 1540. Henry had alienated both France and Spain through his split with Rome during the Reformation and the events leading up to it. So this castle was built to supplement the 2 blockhouses that were already in place opposite sides of the estuary at Fowey and Polruan. And during the Second World War, Fowey was the main port for loading ammunition for the US 29th Division that landed on Omaha Beach on D-Day. So as the stay-home moon rises above Fowey, I'll leave you with the Falmouth Moth and the Moon Folk Club singing farewell and adieu as we walk back slowly through the dark lanes of Fowey.
Round town we'll roll like true British sailors. We'll round town we'll roll all on the salt sea until we strike soundings in the channel of Bodinnick. From the ocean to the cities is 35 leagues. We hove our ship to with the wind from southwest, boys. We hove our ship to, deep soundings to take. It was 45 fathoms with a white sandy bottom. So we squared up our mainyard and a channel did make. We'll round town, we'll roll like true British sailors. We'll round town, we'll roll all along the salt sea until we strike soundings in the channel of England. From the ocean to the cities is 35 leagues.
So, what have we learned from our prolonged stay in Fowey? Well, it is certainly welcoming, friendly, and appears very well run. There's lots of routes to walk your dog, and everywhere seems to be dog friendly. All the stores, all the alehouses. And the whole place is steeped in history of privateers and pirates and smuggling. Obviously, there's plenty more, such as you might want to visit the Daphne du Maurier house, which is still owned by the du Maurier family. I'm not sure whether it is open to the public, but it's worth a look. It's a beautiful little spot. Just look at that. Now, the whole of the town and the waterways becomes extremely overbusy in summer, so do be warned about that. The best time to go and visit is during the quiet time. There is an interesting mix of huge vessels and working boats squeezing their way up the river, as opposed to the millions of yachts there are there in summer. The ferry is expensive, and I did find it closed before it was supposed to, which really screwed things up when I was trying to catch the last ferry, but it saves a 40-minute drive or a swim. I cannot really comment on the yacht facilities for summer, but they're very limited for winter. The moorings and berths were excellent. I couldn't fault those at all, and it was very, very sheltered. Could not believe that there was a mill pond by my boat when there was an absolute gale blowing just round the corner. But again, the crew there at Fowey Harbour Commissioners could not have been more accommodating, and I think Falmouth Harbour Commissioners should come and learn from the real professionals who take a pride in all that they do. So, the story that Toobs was recounting at the start of this video is actually a true historic happening, and this is the vessel that capsized, but it was just under tow and it was only a barge. I'm sorry if she sort of led you astray. So now, after our forced stay here in Fowey due to bad weather, our next video will include us escaping and sailing to Plymouth. Please, if you've enjoyed the video, like it, and if you do subscribe, it really helps us in our pursuit of happiness. Thank you.
Just laying low and dreaming of that big old blue